Do you ever feel like manifestation is just another thing on your to-do list that you don't have time for? Like your spiritual practice is something that you have to do? Honestly, you're not alone because I felt that way too. Something that's really changed my relationship with manifestation is blending it into my lifestyle so that no matter what I'm doing, I'm also manifesting. I call this manifestation as a lifestyle, and it's single handedly made the entire manifestation journey more enjoyable for me. And I've seen my desires show up with a lot more ease. Manifesting as a lifestyle has made manifestation go from feeling like a task to something I just naturally do because it's who I am. If you'd like to learn more about this, I've created a step by step guide for you. I'll link it in my show notes so you can check it out.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Affirmation Addict podcast. On today's episode, I'm going to be deep diving into one of the biggest misconceptions that most people have about manifesting, affirming, and just spirituality in general. Most of us have come to the understanding that you have to be positive all the time because like attracts like, and you only want to attract positive things. And it makes sense, but that's really not true at all. There's so much more behind feeling positive and being positive. So that's why I really want to debunk this big myth that so many of us have, because it ends up creating a lot of pressure for us to feel happy, and it just is a shame cycle that starts to continue. So if this is something that you've ever experienced, I hope this episode helps you out. Hi everyone, my name is Pyle Agarwal, and I want to welcome you to the Affirmation Addict podcast. Affirmations have changed my life, and now it is my mission to help you use them to change yours by using affirmations every day to manifest things your way. My goal is to make affirmations attainable and accessible to every single person, including you, because you have the ability to take control and create your reality. So come with me on my journey and let's see what we can manifest together. Hello, hello. I hope you are having such a beautiful day, and thank you so much for being here and joining me on this episode, and I'm really, really excited to get into it. But before I get started and dive into why your goal and your job is not to be happy all the time, I wanted to just mention one of the giveaways that I'm working on right now, and that is in order to just honor all of you who have left any reviews and any feedback for me, because it seriously means the absolute world to me. And so I just want to say thank you in advance. If you have left me a review, or if you're planning on leaving me a review, they seriously help me spread the word, and it really is what allows me to keep going and keep creating these podcasts, because these podcasts are what truly help me express myself, and I know they've helped so many of you manifest some of your biggest dreams. And so I wanted to give a shout out to KK002, and she said, I love this podcast. Pyle breaks things down and makes you feel like changing your words and thoughts is extremely attainable through developing strong and powerful affirmations. Please keep the content coming. And I definitely will keep the content coming. And so if you do leave a review, you're automatically eligible to be a part of the giveaway, where I'm giving away one of the spots in my mastermind completely for free. That'll be launching back up in the fall before the new year hits, to really reset and set the goals that we want before 2020 comes around. And so if that's something that sounds interesting to you, feel free to leave your honest feedback. And I would absolutely love to just understand where you're coming from and how this podcast has helped you. And if you are an Android user, you can still do this. And I'll have directions in my Instagram, or just message me. I know I have a lot of Android users as well. So you're definitely able to leave an iTunes review, even if you have an Android or you're listening on the Android. But enough about reviews and just giving thanks to you for being so supportive of this episode and all my podcasts. But I really wanted to just talk about the power of misconceptions, because I think this misconception is so huge that most of us end up putting such a big burden on ourselves. We all think, and we've all heard, that the biggest thing with manifestation is how you feel, right? And a huge myth is that you have to be happy all the time. And just to say it flat out, that is completely false. You do not have to be happy all the time in order to manifest. I can tell you firsthand, some of my biggest manifestations actually happened in some of the lowest points of my life. And to this day, I'm not happy 24/7. And so I'm going to talk way more about that, but I want to dive into kind of a little bit of the reasoning behind bringing this conversation up, because I have seen when people message me or they reach out to me or even other people, a lot of it is about spreading positivity, which is awesome. And I obviously completely support positive thinking and really uplifting yourself. But a big thing that I've been noticing with positivity and uplifting yourself is sometimes we feel so pressured by this overwhelming kind of awareness around positive thinking that we have to mask when we don't feel good. So instead of actually acknowledging what we're feeling, we're actually just suppressing those feelings, which doesn't do anything. So if you are kind of quote unquote faking being happy all the time just because you think those manifestations are going to come true, and just because you're forcing yourself to keep a high vibration because you want your manifestations to come through, you're actually putting yourself in a worse position. Your body and your mind knows when you're lying, and it's not going to do anything. Your vibration does not feel good just because you are lying and just because you are just saying things to try and make it work for you. And to give you kind of a really relatable explanation, I used to do this in college when I was trying to manifest my job, and I was like, okay, I was working at an internship and they were offering me a full-time job, but I knew I didn't want it. I knew I didn't want to work with that company. I knew exactly which company I really wanted to work for. So what they would do is I had no option about how to get into that company, the one that my dream company, but I was like, you know what? I am just going to fake being happy at this job, and maybe this job will turn into my dream job. And I did that, and it did not serve me at all. Instead, it made me feel worse. Instead, it made me really, really regret going to work every morning. I literally would call my boss and make excuses and not even get out of bed. Like, it was bad. It wasn't just casually hating my life, hating my job. I was at a super low point, and I hadn't even graduated college yet. This was just an internship, and I was already like that. So me faking it and just trying to suppress the fact that, yeah, I'm not super happy with it, but I'm just going to pretend like I am. It honestly put me in a worse situation emotionally, and it did not help me at all. Obviously, you guys, if you've heard my story, you know the story turns out, and I ended up being able to manifest my dream job, and I will definitely share that story more in depth if you guys want to hear that. But going back to basically the fact about suppressing emotions, the reason that your body reacts so poorly to that is because your emotions are just energy in motion. You are not your emotions. You are not happy. You are not anxious. It's you're experiencing that emotion, and that emotion is just the movement of energy through your body, which in turn changes your entire experience. And if that was kind of confusing, I would just really encourage you to pause and rewind a little bit and just hear that again, because that point is so important. Your emotions are just energy in motion. That is it. Your emotions are not who you are as a person. They don't define you or anything. It's just energy in motion. And that's why it's really easy to consciously shift your emotions when you get to that level. But for beginners and people who have never heard of this concept, it's really frustrating because ever since we're little, all we hear is, I am happy, I am anxious, I am sad. So the emotions become a part of our identity ever since we're growing up. And so taking time to unlearn that emotions are part of your identity is a really big part of this process, because you are not your emotions. You're just experiencing those emotions. So don't be hard on yourself if you're feeling anxious. Don't be hard on yourself if you're feeling stressed. You're just experiencing that, and you have the power to change it. And I know this is a different conversation, but sometimes when I talk about changing your emotions and your feelings are your choice, a lot of people get really stressed out. And it never occurred to me why, because I couldn't put myself in their shoes for that part, because I just forgot how I used to feel. But I now realize that a lot of the times it's so hard to understand, because we are wired ever since we're born basically to identify ourselves as emotions by placing the words I am before how we feel. That literally makes your body and your brain and you, like as a human being, think that you are your emotions. So to kind of, as an umbrella, demystify the fact that you are not your emotions, you are just the experiencer of your emotions. And now moving into the deeper part is, Why it's so harmful is because the second you are forcing yourself to be happy, you are actually just suppressing the true emotions you're experiencing. And the more you suppress it, the more your mind is going to try and release them. And that's still the vibration you're emitting. Just because you're faking the happiness doesn't mean that your mind and your body is going to completely forget about those emotions you're feeling, unless you do a lot of inner work. But I know most of us aren't at that level. And so your mind is going to keep feeling those emotions, and then you're still not going to get what you want to get because you're forcing being happy. The truth behind the law of attraction is your vibration is what attracts what you want to attract. That is totally true. And so I totally understand why people think that being happy, and why that's become such a misconception that you have to be happy all the time. But what a lot of people forget is that there are so many other universal laws, such as one of the most important ones, which is the law of duality or polarity, meaning there's always going to be both sides of the spectrum. So there's always going to be hot and cold. There's always going to be high and low. There's always going to be happy, sad. You're always going to have both sides of the spectrum. And that is just nature's law. Think about it, and I've said this before, like rain and sunshine. That is nature's way of showing duality, because we need that duality in order to keep that balance in our systems and in our body. So instead of reacting so kind of negatively when you have negative emotions, instead, if you take a step back and say, you know what, I am just going to acknowledge and feel this emotion. The second you give that emotion just a little bit of awareness, not like pity yourself in that emotion, but just ask yourself a question. Why am I feeling this way? Can I change this? Can I release something? It's about poking those questions and releasing a little bit of those beliefs that you're holding, or the grudges you might be holding, or pain you're holding. Because the second you listen to yourself and acknowledge yourself, your body will immediately start to release that stress. Literally, your body holds trauma, it holds feelings, it holds emotions. And so that's why, like, when you do stretches and stuff, there's a lot of pain, because that pain is your body's emotional pain being held somewhere too. I know this podcast has kind of gone all over the place, but I'm trying to give you different examples as to how our bodies hold pain, and how we hold pain. Even if we fake it, it doesn't mean it's released out of our system. And I know someone is going to ask, well, when you're saying affirmations, you're just lying to yourself until it becomes truth. And the thing with affirmations is that the more you say it, the more your body is going to believe it, because your subconscious mind only believes any single thing you say as truth. So that's why faking it till you make it works in that way, but you still have to do a lot of work. For example, a lot of you have tried manifesting certain things and they don't come true because there's limiting beliefs that you first have to release before those affirmations can come through. And so there's always a paradox with all of the manifestation stuff, all of spirituality. There is a paradox, and it's meant to be that way, because once again, the paradox is the duality that we all have to experience. And so I hope it's not too confusing, but I want you to understand that in order to demystify this misconception that we have to be happy all the time, it's okay to feel those feelings. You have to acknowledge those feelings, and you have to allow yourself to feel the way you want to feel while you are letting yourself feel that way and being gentle with yourself. Because if you're so harsh on yourself, it just becomes a shame cycle, and it just becomes a cycle of, oh, I'm supposed to feel happy, but I'm not feeling happy, and my stuff isn't going to manifest, and then who am I going to be, and my life sucks, and oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out, and blah, 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 blah. It just gets so crazy and overwhelmed that we're focusing so hard on how we're thinking, and we're overanalyzing every single emotion we feel rather than just feeling them. And that's the thing. You have to just kind of trust this process. You are still a human. If you were meant to be happy all the time and in pure bliss all the time, you would probably be like some angel floating in the sky. You wouldn't be living the human experience. The human experience is meant to be lived, and human experience means the entire full range of emotions, the entire spectrum from very, very sad to very, very happy. You will be experiencing all of those emotions. So instead of really avoiding that human experience, start to enjoy it and embrace it, because it is your blessing and it is like your gift to be here and enjoy that time. Because I don't want you to become overpressured and just feel like you're failing because you're not happy. That's not true. You are totally normal and totally allowed to feel the things you're feeling. And to this day, I still feel a full spectrum of emotions almost on a daily basis. I'm a very emotional person. And so sometimes I'll be experiencing sadness. Sometimes I'll be experiencing super positive and super confident. And then 5 minutes later, I'm super stressed out and overwhelmed. And that's just a cycle. Instead of avoiding it, I accept it and I look at it from an outside perspective. And so to dive a little bit deeper and give you an insight as to how I handle my emotions when you are in those situations where you don't feel as good, something that I do is I will look at the situation and be like, okay, this is what I'm experiencing and how can I shift this? If it seems unthinkable, what can I learn from this? If that seems ridiculous to ask, okay, I'm just going to feel these emotions because I'm allowed to, and that's it. My life is still going to go on. There's normally a huge lesson in those times of stress, and I'm recording a podcast episode about what my app has taught me, and that has caused me so much stress, so much fear, and now it is such a big relief and excitement to release it. But for a long time, I was holding a lot of emotions that I was too scared to even acknowledge, which probably pushed off my manifestation of the app being released for this long too. I know I directly had an impact into how long it was taking to manifest that. And so the power of acknowledging and feeling your emotions, even if it's scary, is huge because you are literally allowing yourself to feel, because there's so much negative connotation about anxiety or sadness or overwhelm and stress that oftentimes we don't even let ourselves fully feel that emotion. If you can just completely express yourself in those times, and not at other people, just to yourself, maybe in a journal or just in your mirror, just be honest with how you're feeling and why you're feeling this way, that emotion will probably stay for such a short amount of time, because most of the time when I'm sad, I'm just holding it in, I'm avoiding the conversation, and it makes me even more sad. But if I just blurt it out, whether it's in my journal or to Tom, who is normally the person I'm with all the time, then it goes away so much quicker. So instead of just being embarrassed by your emotions and embarrassed by not being happy all the time, own it, because you are human and you're allowed to feel this way. And I really want you to remember that it's not your job to be happy all the time. You are not responsible for being happy all the time. Your manifestations will still completely come true even if you're not happy all the time. I'm definitely not saying go sit in a corner and mope and feel sorry for yourself. I'm saying analyze your emotions with a sense of love, not a sense of this needs to go away. Just be gentle with yourself and be like, hey, why am I feeling this way? What is triggering me? How can I work through this? How can I heal through this? Not, oh my gosh, I'm the worst person ever. My manifestation's not going to come true. My life sucks. Because then you're just throwing yourself a pity party, and that's not fair. You need to take responsibility for your emotions. And the first step is to first let yourself feel those emotions and start becoming aware. That's the first step. The second step is then you can start taking that ownership and being like, hey, I am in full control. I know that sounds a lot harder than it is, and you can still be happy if someone hurts you. You can still be happy if someone cheats on you eventually. I'm not saying right away. I'm not saying that's how it should be, but that's what I'm trying to explain is your emotions do not have to be triggered by any other person, any other experience except you, because you are literally in full control. We just don't feel like it because we haven't been taught that growing up and over the years, but now it's time for you to reparent yourself and reteach yourself this information. And so I hope this little episode was able to demystify the huge pressure that we all put on ourselves that we have to be happy all the time. I encourage you to feel those emotions and be proud of the emotions you feel. It is not a bad thing. And so if you are ready to feel those emotions, let me know, and feel free to post on Instagram or tag me and just DM me if this episode resonated with you, because I absolutely love hearing what you have to say about these episodes. And it just means the world to me to know that they're actually helping you. So please feel free to just tag me, DM me, message me, or post about it on your story, or whatever you want to do. Just let me know so I can see how this episode has helped you. And it would mean so, so much to me. And I just want to say thank you once again for spending your time with me, sharing your energy with me, and just being here. You all mean the world to me, and my community and this tribe and just your energy together has changed my life in so many ways. Like, I'm literally tearing up right now. And so just thank you. I love you from the bottom of my heart. And thank you for being here, and let yourself feel those emotions because you totally are allowed to. Have a good one. Mwah. Bye.
That's all I have for you guys, and I just want to say thank you again for spending some time with me. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, head over to my social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to my website if you want to subscribe to my email list, which is affirmation-addict.com. I cannot wait to hear from you guys, and I will talk to you guys super soon. Have a good one, you guys. Bye!